Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dalton from the Petrol List, and if you noticed, my last video was not from the studio. I'm pretty happy to be back in the studio. I forget how much equipment and lighting and all that kind of stuff that I have to set up, but it's cool. I think it makes for a good effect. Uh, Anyhow, if you didn't see last week's video, it was the Silverstone Museum tour for F1, and I think it was a pretty nifty video. Go ahead and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. After you watch this one, of course. Uh, did some hiking and whatnot, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Japanese Grand Prix. Now, before I get started with that, sorry for the delay. I just wanted to give a shout out to some cool dudes. I want to say from Lincolnshire that I met. If you're watching and you find yourself in the Dallas area, reach out to me on IG or in the comments section or something. But great to meet you. So, Japanese Grand Prix. The Suzuka Circuit, it's a really tough track, especially on this generation of Pirellis. Um, this track has, tire degradation, and it really showed the strengths and weaknesses of the different teams. I mean, you're talking, what's the team strategy? How was the car built? How kind is it to tires? Driver strategy, like the individual driver, what are they thinking about as they're driving along and trying to maintain a good performance versus degradation on their car. We're talking about downforce requirement versus drag and pit stop speed. And some teams really shined and some teams and drivers did not do so well. Let's start off with lap one, Ricciardo's crash. It was an unforced error. I think he's been in Formula One for like 10 years now. Everyone else has adjusted to the enormous size of the cars. And I mean, at this level of driving, I mean, you've got your super license, you've got to understand the dimensions of your car, and you can't veer right in traffic when you have room because everyone on the track is fighting for millimeters. So while I'm a huge fan of Ricciardo's, what happened to his mojo? Where did it go? Perez had a very hot and cold season last year, but he came back from it. And I was hoping that Ricciardo was going to have the same thing happen, But, last year, he wasn't even hot and cold. He was just kind of cold. This year, he's not hot and cold. He's just kind of cold. And when you have drivers like Liam Lawson waiting in the wings, and there's a talented group of young drivers coming up. Like I always say, Formula One needs to go back to having more than just 10 teams because there's that many good drivers, and there are our old heroes that are still great drivers. They've had, I want to say, 24 to 26 cars on the grid before. They can do it again, especially in 2026. The cars are getting smaller. There's literally going to be room, and with Formula One growing, even having Andretti in the mix, different story, different topic, but that would be great. I just don't know if Ricciardo has it in him anymore. I wish he did. And I haven't checked in on the rumors. I've heard in passing that Ricciardo's going to have a couple of races to see if he can fix things. Well, if this is one of the races, and the last race was subpar compared to his teammate Tsunoda, I don't see longevity for Ricciardo left. All right, Verstappen, he had two great starts in a row. He drove flawlessly in the lead. Red Bull managed top speed, tire strategy, pit stops, as always. And I think they had mediums to start off with, so the mediums got them comfortably out into the lead. They switched to hards, and that sustained the lead for the long haul. I can't remember if they did a third stop or not, but they just did everything flawlessly. I'm still not a Red Bull and Verstappen fan, but just because I'm not doesn't mean I can't give them their props. They have been, they've been a dominant team for a reason. Everything is working like clockwork, with the exception of Christian Horner's late night texts fiascos. You would think that Red Bull is just a flawless team. Well, because right now they are. Now, I do have my opinion, or my opinions on Max Verstappen when he does have traffic around him. I don't think that he's very dynamic when he's got other drivers around him. He tends to do the dive bombing technique to turn, to overtake. Kind of a one or two trick pony there. Now, before the comments come in, well, he's a better driver than you. Of course he's a better driver than me. But, I'm just a commentator comparing him to other, I think, more dynamic drivers that I've seen. But he did run a flawless race. You can't knock that. And, good job. Perez has taken on the Valtteri Bottas style secondary driver. I think after they beat him and tased him in the basement of Red Bull, he has stopped, saying that he wants to fight for the championship. And I think right now he's just, fighting to stay in the seat. And I think he has justified his AA contract extension. He's extremely consistent this year. I have no idea why Red Bull would have cause to trade him out for anybody at this point. They've got a system, it's working, and you don't fix what's not broken. Mercedes, don't fix what's. Remember, you had Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton. You tried to fix what wasn't broken, and look where you're at right now. My gosh, I'm really not that big of a Mercedes fan right now. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Yuki Tsunoda, he's maturing well. He's maturing quickly. I think after, was it the last race or was it the first race of the season? Anyway, he tried to use his multi-million-dollar Formula One car as a battering ram against Daniel Ricciardo. After the race when he was frustrated. That's definitely not a good look. After this race, he was thanking the pit, top job guys, great job guys. And actually, he was driving quite well, driving really consistently as well. I think he'd be good for any team, but at the moment, I think he's in the right spot. I think he's a good lead driver for the Red Bull Cash App, PayPal, Money Tree, Racing, Bovines. Sorry, that name just it grates on me. The Cash App team. He's a great lead driver for that team. I think he's in a good spot. It'll be interesting to see if more teams join the grid, if he kind of moves over, or if he stays there for a while. But good on you, Tsunoda. Mercedes. I kind of don't even want to talk about Mercedes right now, but I kind of have to because it is a big story. I took a lot of notes. As a matter of fact, I'm on my last page of this notebook. All right, let's see. What did I write down when I was taking my notes? Mercedes, they didn't have enough downforce, so they were fast in the straights, but tire drag when you're trying to turn at that speed, you're using a lot more mechanical grip, aka tire grip, than downforce at that point. They kept their cars out for too long on old tires, so that erased any benefit that they had of trying to do their long stop, strategy, any hard tires and stuff. They just kept the cars out too long. Tires degraded, and they were getting passed left and right. And then when they finally, let's see. So here's one. Lewis Hamilton asked the team if George Russell should pass. Most people were or if they should swap positions. Most people were confused at that. I wasn't confused in the least. See, the thing is, Lewis Hamilton knew that George Russell was going to overdrive the car, which he did, degrade the tires, which he did, and Lewis Hamilton was going into tire management mode, and he didn't want impatient, immature, and emotional George Russell behind him. So he's like, let this guy pass. I will stay out longer. I will manage the tires. I will let the lead teams pit in front of me and try to use a tire management advantage. That is something that Lewis Hamilton has always excelled at. He's a very fast one-lap driver, obviously. But the thing that wins championships is not just being fast, it's being strategic. So why then? It was, I can't remember what lap. Maybe I'll show it, maybe I won't. Lewis Hamilton literally says, the tires are really great. And then they pit him. Not only did they pit him, they gave him a 3.3 second pit stop after they pitted George, who had, I think it was a sub 2.5. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But they gave him a long pit stop after he said, hey guys, the tires are great. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you let the 7.5 time world champion make up his own mind? Why would you treat him like a freaking child who hasn't accomplished anything? And that's been Mercedes' problem since they brought George Russell on. I don't understand. Well, no, they've had more problems than that. They just haven't gotten their act together, and they are a mid-tier team. And in my opinion, Lewis Hamilton can't get out of there fast enough. My gosh, Mercedes. I've got no patience. I am openly not a Mercedes fan anymore. Still Lewis Hamilton fan. Carlos Sainz, Piastri. I think those are my favorite drivers on the grid right now. But as for Mercedes, I don't know what you're doing. You're getting passed left and right by your customer teams. Mercedes is a proper mid-tier team right now, and I don't see them getting out of it until at the very least 2026. But who knows, because they had the whole winter to build a brand new car. They did, and it still stinks. So who knows what they're going to do in 2026? I don't know. I hope they're doing some research on it for their sake. I won't be rooting for them. I'll be rooting for Ferrari, McLaren, and wherever Sainz goes. Sorry, that just is what it is. Speaking of, no, let's stay with Mercedes for just one more second, as depressing as it is. Late in the race, George Russell pushes Oscar Piastri off the track as they're chasing Fernando Alonso in the scuffle. Both George Russell and Oscar Piastri lose time, and Alonso breaks free. Sounds familiar. Oh yeah, it was on the 50th lap of 53. So screwing it up for more than one person late in the race sounds familiar, right? Am I wrong? Let's see. So yeah, George Russell, he should have not tried to battle Piastri in the chicane. He should have waited and used the DRS because the Mercedes was slipperier in the straights. So he could have used the DRS to his advantage and then possibly approached the Aston Martin car, because while the Aston Martin car had their downforce dialed in, as Lance Stroll complained, it was slow in a straight line. My gosh, man. Strategery. Okay. Sainz once again looked like the lead driver over Leclerc. I don't know what's going on there. You know, if Lewis Hamilton shows up at Ferrari fully focused and he's over this last 3 years at Mercedes, I think it's going to be an excellent pairing. Uh, Hamilton as the lead driver until he officially wins his eighth drivers' championship. Leclerc as a fighting second driver, and by fighting, Fred Vasseur, he lets his drivers fight within reason. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. Yeah, yeah. All right. And then Norris drove amazingly and still hasn't won a race. I don't think he's got a chance to win a race unless just something crazy happens to both Sainz and Verstappen. Like maybe both of their cars shut down mid race, and then he swoops in from third place. But I don't see him winning a race until 2026. So yeah, that was the Japanese Grand Prix, and of course, a reporter asked Lewis Hamilton a silly question. Everyone is saying he asked, "Are you jealous of Ferrari because they're faster?" I think he said something like, "Are you looking forward to moving over to Ferrari?" And Lewis Hamilton asked him if he had a better question. I think there are much better questions to ask. I mean, yeah, it's going to be bittersweet for Hamilton. He's been associated with Mercedes for a very long time. But guess what? Retiring in the sun in Italy at a team that actually pays attention to you. I think it's a good move. He's earned a drive at Ferrari, just like Schumacher earned a drive, just like Sebastian Vettel earned a drive, and I think it's a great move for him. I think the writing was on the wall, and it's kind of a silly question for the reporter to ask, because even if Hamilton was like, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to it," it's not like you can really say that. The guy still works at Mercedes. He's put in his 2 weeks, but he still works at Mercedes. So I don't know. That's kind of a strange question. And yeah, especially after an extremely frustrating race. Yeah, yeah. Little tone deaf. All right, that's it. That is the Petrol List Monday video. Thanks for watching. Don't know why I did that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. I'm out.
Hey, look up.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. Whoa. And, oh wow. Honey, look, you can kind of make it out on the screen.
It's harsher on the screen than.
Yeah. Don't stare too long.
Yeah.